Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions, and prospects are coming up in the Single Market Program.
Today in the program, competition in the market of the EAEC, a cheat sheet for business. Kazakhstan-USA, new opportunities for cooperation. Franchising through export, where super simulators are produced. Hello, I'm your host Yerkebulan Bikmuhammed. You're watching the Single Market Program. Competition is the driving force of the market because this process motivates business to develop. At the same time, not everyone comes to the market with good ideas, and there will always be those who violate the rules and norms of a fair fight. Such cases also occur on the territory of the EAEC. How to find the right balance in matters of anti-monopoly regulation without restricting the freedom of business and at the same time preventing violations of competition. More on the topic will be covered by our special correspondent in Moscow, Laura Jusupbekova. On the agenda of the Eurasian Economic Commission, there are two important issues. One is the liberalization of anti-monopoly regulation with the introduction of tools, the so-called soft law. The second being the advocacy of competition, where the entrepreneurs attend training in the headquarters of the EAEC. What results will the two initiatives bring? But first things first, it's time to introduce anti-monopoly laws and regulations to prevent violation of competitions in the Eurasian Economic Union. This message became the topic of the meeting of heads of anti-monopoly services of the countries of the EAEC, which was held in Moscow. According to experts, the introduction of such norms will not only solve the problems in the Eurasian legislation, but also significantly reduce the administrative burden on business. This is a preventative measure, as we understand that business can commit some sort of offense simply because it wasn't aware of certain norms of legislation. Here is this warning, and at the same time will help and clarify what is inadmissible for them. By the way, this initiative was approved by the Intergovernmental Council. Heads of competition authorities of the EAPC countries also supported the work on making adjustments to the existing union law. And if this is becoming a reality, the question arises, in what cases and for what will they write out a fine or issue a warning? In the case of anti-competitive agreements, and when concluding these agreements, be it vertical, horizontal, abuse of dominant position in the form of monopolistically high and monopolistically low prices, and in case of repetition of violations. The mechanism of prevention within the framework of anti-monopoly regulation is aimed at allowing business entities that do not comply with competition rules to independently solve the violations committed. If the business entity is a market participant and voluntarily eliminated those actions that may be regarded as violating the general rules of competition, we really do not have the right to impose fines on market participants. In other words, the issues of anti-monopoly regulation in the Eurasian Economic Commission have been discussed based on the old, proven principle. It includes matters concerning point of view of information possession, as well as the rights and responsibilities of the participants of the integration market.
Мы планируем проведение во всех наших странах
We plan to hold roundtable, conferences, forums in all of our countries and take an active part in anti-monopoly actions. We are preparing for publication of a number of materials that we want to be standardized. It will be a kind of analog of the white paper.
Ряд материалов, которые хотим обобщить, это будет некий аналог белой книги.
This is how the Barriers, Exemptions and Restrictions report is described in the Eurasian Economic Commission, in which all barriers to trade in the EEA are fixed. This work has been systematically carried out for the last 3 years, and we intend to continue it in the future. We believe that this will have a very good effect on the awareness of business and its competitiveness. Along with the explanation, the Eurasian Economic Commission will simultaneously consider applications of enterprises whose rights have been infringed as a result of unfair competition. For example, last year in the complaints of the Minsk and Kintau transformer plants, cases were brought against the Novy Lipetsk metallurgical plant for price discrimination of the Belarusian and Kazakh enterprises.
Мы рассмотрели 12 заявлений по нарушению прав.
We reviewed 12 applications for violations of competition rules. 4 investigations began, 2 of them on applications of Kazakhstani enterprises. The Commission will continue to help businesses defend their interests and protect their rights in the common market. Here is an important hint for entrepreneurs. In the near future, the Eurasian Economic Commission will open a public reception area where business representatives will be able to obtain information from the Eurasian officials on the topic of competition law, particularly on the possibilities to protect their rights in the cross-border market. USA. Through its independence, the USA has invested over $50 billion in Kazakhstan's economy. Today, more than 500 American companies have been operating in Kazakhstan as the world's most powerful country continues to invest in the Central Asian Republic. The economy in which they operate is represented by different sectors. These include mineral resources, energy, transport, health, and tourism. What are the prospects for the development of trade and economic ties between the U.S. and Kazakhstan? Our expert Alexander Galiev will tell us more about the trends that emerged after the January meeting of the presidents of the two countries. Every event, phenomenon, and process has its beginning. The same goes to trade and economic cooperation between Kazakhstan and the United States. In 1993, American corporations ExxonMobil and Chevron approached the young independent state's oil and gas sector. They were in fact the first large investors who used their financial and technological resources for the growth of the economy of Kazakhstan. In terms of trade between the two countries, today Kazakhstan mainly exports ferroalloys, uranium, yellow phosphorus, lead, tantalum, sulfur, and other mineral resources to the U.S., while the United States delivers drilling machines, pipe fittings, air pumps, cars, and turbojet engines to Kazakhstan. What new prospects have emerged in the trade and economic cooperation between the two countries? Let's investigate them by highlighting certain areas and taking into account the agreements reached during President Nazarbayev's recent visit to the White House. Railway transport. The companies General Electric and Kazakhstan Joly plan to implement 2 new initiatives, totaling nearly $900 million. This is the development and production by the American partner of 300T coupling locomotives for the national company of Kazakhstan. There is also the long-term agreement on the provision of services for the maintenance and support of the existing locomotive series, General Electric EVO, which are already in the locomotive park.
General Electric EVO.
Air transport. Private Kazakhstani airline SCAT Airlines will acquire 6 Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircrafts from the United States, the first of which will be delivered to Kazakhstan this spring. In addition, the national aircraft Air Astana has confirmed its plans for the contract of 3 787 Dreamliner aircrafts. Their delivery will be carried out in 2021. In general, the total amount of all contracts for air transport amounted to $1.3 billion.
Составила $1 миллиард и 300 миллионов долларов США.
Pharmaceuticals. A memorandum was signed with the American company Pfizer on the implementation of the project to localize the production of secondary packaging of high-tech medical products. The most important strategic cooperation between Kazakhstan and the U.S. involves the National Welfare Fund and Samur Kazna and GE Digital, a division of the General Electric Corporation. These companies signed an agreement to create a sustainable digital ecosystem in Kazakhstan. Under this agreement, a joint assessment of digital permissions based on the Predix platform is being prepared.
Основанных на платформе Predix.
In conclusion, I would like to note that there is a big opportunity for the expansion of Kazakh-American partnership. There's a project like TIFA, which is an agreement to facilitate trade and investments in Central Asia. In Almaty last year, Kazakhstan and the United States have agreed to open a new regional agency that deals with the protection of intellectual property rights in order to support innovation and trade. This is all from me, Alexander Galiev.
На этом у меня все. С вами был Александр Галиев.
Annually, the well-known American edition of The Entrepreneur publishes the top 500 best franchises in the world. In 2017, the chain of supermarkets 7-Eleven topped the rating. The supermarket chain has 60,000 stores in 17 countries.
в 17 странах мира.
The second spot on the list was a McDonald's fast food chain. The cost of this franchise is $45,000, and the total investment is slightly more than $1 million. Many experts believe that franchising is often more successful than startups. This leads to the question, what about franchising in Kazakhstan? Let's hear from Maria Kuznetsova.
Обстоят дела в Казахстане, расскажет Мария Кузнецова.
Any business can be created, developed, and also be sold. This is the opportunity provided by the franchise system. The franchise owner produced the finished product, and to the franchisee, the operating mechanism of management and the starting set of marketing tools for promotion. The franchise buyer receives a step-by-step guide on the creation and development of a well-known product. This simultaneously serves as an instruction and, to some extent, a means of optimizing the business.
Не нужно тратить время, энергии, эмоции, деньги на что-то новое свое.
You don't need to waste time, energy, emotions, and money on something new. You can try, with the availability of finance, to deal with a business that already has a name and brand. This could give you immediate income in a business you could rely on.
Может дать сразу же доход, и на который можно опереться.
According to experts, the optimal conditions for the development of franchising have been created in Kazakhstan. This is indicated by the fact that the state allocates 3 million tenge for the purchase of a franchise within the framework of the Business Roadmap program. I think this is a good help for our startup entrepreneurs. It is good that the state can provide such grants for entrepreneurs. This opportunity is not given everywhere. The share of foreign franchises prevails in the market of Kazakhstan today. This is about 90% of the total market. In many ways, this situation is caused by the fact that many Kazakhstani businessmen are not aware that their business models could also be sold.
У нас очень много предпринимателей и очень много.
We have a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people who have their own experience with innovative achievements. They develop patents quite often. It is interesting that based on patents, a business could be set up, and this business could be replicated using the franchising model.
Тиражировать, используя франшизу.
The Kazakhstan Franchising Association believes that the best time for the development of this type of entrepreneurial activity is during the crisis period. When the company's funds are used to maintain the operating activities of the enterprise, there are no remaining funds left for new developments. Another fact in favor of domestic franchising, foreign companies must have experience in working and selling their products in the market profile for at least 3 years. And for Kazakh entrepreneurs, there are no limits. It is easier for them to find buyers. So today in the Republic, the development of franchises is growing. How was it done earlier? An expensive franchise was usually purchased abroad, but now Kazakh companies are selling franchises on their own. Today in the Kazakhstan market, there are about 50 successful domestic franchises. They are represented in different sectors of business, but the largest number are in the field of public catering, educational and medical services. The company Textile Line offered the franchise to Russian partners who work in the light industry. In order to test the competitiveness of its Mimi Uri brand, they first exported children's clothing to the Russian market.
Мы когда создавали бренд Мимиорики, мы понимали, что в любом случае рынок Казахстана.
When we created the Mimiorix brand, we realized that Kazakhstan is still quite a small market. We set ourselves the task that we definitely must go to at least nearby markets. Today, Russia is one of the most attractive places in the world because the volume of the market is quite large.
Кусков в мире, потому что объем рынка достаточно большой.
Today, Kazakhstan franchises are not only interested in Russia, but also in China and Uzbekistan. The most promising area is franchising in the field of digital technologies. For example, for the sale of a universal payment system for money transfers, investments, and other financial transactions. We are currently in talks with Georgia, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and the Arab Emirates. They want to buy ready-made solutions. Over the past 2 to 3 years, Kazakhstan has seen more active development of domestic franchises, and this is indicated by positive dynamics. In 2016, 10 franchises of Kazakhstan brands appeared in the countries, and in 2017, it grew to 17. Only in 1 year, there was an increase of 70%. According to experts' forecasts, in 2018, the dynamics will be more positive. Maria Kuznetsova and Bakhtiar Bakhriev special report for the Single Market Program.
Non-S terminus.
Wiring to energy service. Non-S terminus. There is no limit to perfection. This Socratic principle is relevant at all times. Today, this is even more so, especially for those who manufacture products, because the competition is not the same and technology is changing rapidly. What exactly can be done in such conditions? Ilmira Nigrieva will find out more.
Робототехника, визуальная реальность, 3D-моделирование.
Robotics, visual reality, 3D modeling, and other areas of technical progress. All of them are transforming the military industry today more than all other sectors of the economy. In this area, innovations are introduced actively.
Мировой опыт активно внедряет инновации.
Kazakhstan has production facilities that are among the first to master the digital format. One of them, LLP Almaty Energo Service, is the largest engineering company with a closed cycle and a high degree of localization. Here, high-tech products are produced and are in demand in many sectors of the economy. The main specialization of the enterprise is the manufacture of simulators intended for training cadets of flight and military schools. This is a practical skill for cadets before they sit in a real military jet. And the second task of the simulator is to reduce the costs that are associated with the depreciation of real equipment. The uniqueness of such simulators is that they create the same sensations you get when you're flying a real combat vehicle or flying an airplane. Special software allows you to change conditions, simulate different situations, and monitor the actions of those who are in the car, for example, in an armed personnel carrier. Here we have one of the obstacles for an armored troop carrier on which the general BTR Plus training of soldiers is also going on here in the city. A large number of huge blocks to collect all the data of where the BTR traveled, stopped or did not stop, drove to the red light or did not drive to the red light. The availability of state-of-the-art equipment allows us to fully comply with the principle of using digitalization. The enterprise has a full range of technological capabilities, including the use of visualization systems, control programs, and 3D machines. The company has purchased several types of 3D scanners, which will accurately obtain 3D models, for which it is possible to create design documentation. Thanks to the use of 3D scanners, it was possible to significantly reduce the development time of spare parts designed for simulators up to the optimal time, and to obtain a ready-made prototype within 2 days. With the help of this equipment, you can scan various products of any size, not only for the military-industrial complex. The smallest object that we scanned was a dental pin. The largest object that was scanned was a helicopter cabin. Thanks to this production, the Republic's military-industrial complex and flight crew training centers optimized the cost and raised the level of training of their specialists, and foreign countries paid attention to the high quality of simulator systems produced in Kazakhstan. At the International Exhibition of Armament and Military Technical Equipment, CADEX, which took place in 2016, the company Almaty Energo Service signed a contract with representatives of the United Arab Emirates. In addition to the Arab contracts, a contract was signed for the supply of a comprehensive tank simulator for the Ministry of Defense of Bangladesh. In 2018, the company from the same state won a tender for the supply to another facility. In order to keep pace with digital innovations, the company tries, even in difficult economic conditions, to invest in modernization of production. This year, the company plans to purchase a new 3D printer. Thanks to the innovation, they will master SLS technology, which will allow printing products with greater detail and increased durability. As a result, the enterprise once again optimizes its costs, since products manufactured using SLS technology require less post-processing. Anatoly Valyuysky, Elmira Negreev exclusively for the Single Market Program. That's all for today. I am Yerke Bulanbek Mukhambia. Let me remind you that all our episodes can be watched on our website at www.kazakh-tv.kz. See you in the Single Market Program.